Have you ever wondered why some men are simply unforgettable to women? Not because of money, looks, or status, but because of something far deeper. The truth is, women never forget the man who touches their soul, not just their hand. And today, inside this video, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful things, rooted in both timeless wisdom and modern psychology, that make a man unforgettable in the heart of a woman. But before we dive in, I want you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to the Stoic Sage and hit that like button, because this channel is all about mastering yourself, mastering your relationships, and living with wisdom. And second, watch this video until the very end, because what I'm about to share isn't just information. It could change the way you love forever. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, wow, they're beautiful, but then later realized that what really pulled you in wasn't just their looks, but something much deeper? Let me ask you, when you think back to the person you once loved, do you remember their face? Or do you remember the little things about who they were? The way they laughed? The way they cared? The dreams they whispered late at night? That's the secret most men miss. Women never forget the man who sees her as more than just pretty eyes and a smile. She never forgets the man who looks past her beauty and sees her humanity. When I first met Sarah, I won't lie, I was struck by her beauty. She walked into the room, and for a moment it felt like everything slowed down. But here's the thing, she already knew she was beautiful. People told her that every single day. Strangers on the street, friends, even co-workers, everyone noticed her looks. But almost no one noticed her. So instead of repeating what she'd heard 100 times, I chose a different path. I asked her about her favorite childhood memory. I asked her about her biggest fear. I asked her what she would do with her life if no one judged her. And you know what happened? Her eyes lit up in a way that no compliment about her beauty had ever done. One night I remember sitting with her at a quiet cafe. She stirred her coffee slowly, and then she said something I'll never forget. You know, everyone tells me I'm beautiful, but you're the only one who makes me feel seen. And that hit me, because in that moment, I realized something powerful. Women don't remember the men who admire their surface. They remember the men who recognize their soul. Think about the woman you love, or maybe the woman you once loved. Did you ever stop to notice the little details about her that no one else saw? Maybe the way she hummed when she cooked, or the way her hands shook when she was nervous, or how her voice changed when she talked about something she truly cared about. If you did, then trust me, she remembers that. Here's what most men don't understand. Beauty fades into the background, but presence, the ability to really see her, stays forever. And when a woman feels truly seen, she never forgets the man who gave her that gift. So if you want to be unforgettable, don't just tell her she's beautiful. Look deeper. Ask about her dreams, hold space for her fears, and remind her that she's more than what the world sees on the outside. Because that's the memory she'll carry with her, long after the flowers fade and the pictures blur. Have you ever noticed how love feels different when you're with someone who makes you feel safe? Not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. The kind of safety where you don't have to pretend, don't have to hold back, don't have to hide the messy parts of yourself. Can you think of a time when the woman you loved cried in front of you for the first time? Do you remember how big that moment was? Because that wasn't just tears, it was trust. When I was with Sarah, I learned this lesson in a way I'll never forget. One evening she came over after a rough day at work. I could tell something was wrong just by the way she dropped her bag on the floor. Normally she was full of energy, but that night she just sat down quietly, almost as if the weight of the world was on her shoulders. My first instinct was to ask questions, to try and solve whatever problem she was facing. But then I remembered something powerful. Sometimes she doesn't need solutions, she needs safety. So instead I sat next to her, put my arm gently around her and whispered, "You don't have to explain anything right now. Just sit, I'm here." And you know what happened? She let out this deep sigh, as if she had been holding her breath all day, and then she leaned into me. After a few minutes of silence, tears started to roll down her cheeks. That night, she told me later, was the moment she realized she could trust me with the parts of herself she didn't show anyone else. When the woman you love is upset, how do you react? Do you rush to lecture her? Do you get frustrated and tell her to calm down? Or do you give her the space to be real, raw, and even a little broken without making her feel judged? Because here's the truth. Women never forget. The man who makes them feel safe enough to be vulnerable. Think about your own love story. Maybe there was a time she shared a fear she had never told anyone else. Maybe she confessed a mistake from her past. Maybe she cried in your arms after a bad day. Do you remember how tightly she held on to you in that moment? That's not weakness, that's her saying, "I trust you more than anyone." And that, my friend, is something she will never forget. With Sarah, it wasn't the fancy dates or expensive gifts that made her feel loved. It was the ordinary evenings where she could break down without shame and know I wouldn't think less of her. She once told me, "When I'm with you, I don't feel like I have to wear armor." And let me tell you, when a woman says that, you've already carved yourself into her heart forever. So remember this. Women may smile at the man who excites them, but they never forget the man who calms them. Be her anchor, her safe place, her shelter, because long after everything else fades, she'll carry that feeling with her, always. When was the last time you felt someone really listened to you? Not just nodded their head while scrolling their phone. Not just waiting for their turn to speak, but truly, fully present with you. Can you remember how good that felt? Now flip that thought. When was the last time you gave that gift to the woman you love? With Sarah, this lesson hit me harder than I expected. She once told me, "You're one of the first people who actually listens to me without trying to fix me." And at first, I didn't understand what she meant until one night that changed everything. We were sitting on the balcony, the city lights glowing beneath us, and she started talking about a fight she had with one of her closest friends. My instinct, like most men, was to jump in with advice. I wanted to tell her what to do, how to solve it, how to make it go away. But something in me said, "Wait, just be quiet. Just listen." So I leaned back, looked into her eyes, and gave her the space to pour her heart out. She talked for almost an hour, about her feelings, her fears, her frustration. And the whole time I just nodded, asked small questions, and let her words flow. At the end of it, she smiled softly and whispered, "Thank you for listening. I feel lighter now." And that's when it clicked. Women don't always need solutions. They need presence. They need to feel that what they say matters. Think about your own love story. Was there ever a time she told you about her dreams, her insecurities, or maybe even something silly like how her day went? Did you really listen, or did you brush it off thinking it wasn't important? Because here's the truth. The little things she shares are not little. They're the threads of her soul she's handing to you, one by one, hoping you'll weave them into something safe. Sarah once told me about how, as a little girl, she dreamed of traveling the world but was always told it was unrealistic. To me, it was just a casual story at first. But the way her voice softened, the way her eyes wandered into the distance, I knew it meant something deeper. Months later, when I surprised her with a simple travel book and said, "Pick a place for us to go one day," she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "You actually remembered." That's the power of listening. It's not about being perfect, it's about paying attention. Women never forget the man who listens, not just to their words, but to their silences, to their little details, to the emotions hidden behind their stories. So ask yourself this when she speaks. Do you really hear her? Or do you only wait for your turn? Because the man who listens, truly listens, is the man she carries in her heart forever. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment that you later wished you could take back? Maybe a sharp word, maybe a cold silence, maybe a reaction that wasn't about love but about your own pride. Now think back. How did that affect the woman you loved? Did it bring you closer, or did it build a wall between you? With Sarah, I learned a truth that changed the way I handled love forever. Women never forget the man who chooses calmness over anger. I still remember the night that tested me. We were supposed to meet for dinner, but Sarah showed up late, almost an hour late. And to make it worse, she forgot to text me. I sat at the table checking my watch, frustration building. When she finally walked in, I could feel my chest tighten with irritation. The easy thing, the natural thing, would have been to snap, to say, "Do you even care about my time?" But as she sat down, I saw her face. She looked tired, stressed, like the day had already beaten her down. In that moment, I had a choice. I could react with anger and add to her burden, or I could respond with calmness and become her relief. So instead of lashing out, I reached for her hand and said, "Rough day?" Her eyes filled with tears instantly. She whispered, "You have no idea." That dinner turned into one of the most meaningful conversations we ever had, simply because I chose to respond, not react. How many times in your love story have small conflicts turned into big arguments simply because of reaction, not reason? Do you remember how it felt when she cried? Not because of what happened, but because of how you reacted? Women carry those moments in their hearts, but here's the thing, they also carry the opposite. When you respond with calmness, when you hold your ground with love instead of anger, that memory becomes unforgettable. Sarah once told me, "When you stay calm, I feel safe even when I've made mistakes." That struck me hard, because it showed me something deep. Calmness isn't weakness, it's strength. It's leadership in love. Think about it, anyone can react. That's easy. But it takes a man of patience, a man of depth, to respond with understanding. And that's the kind of man a woman never forgets. So I ask you, are you the storm in her life? Or are you the shelter she runs to when the storm hits? Because the truth is simple. Women remember the man who gave them peace when the world gave them chaos. With Sarah, I learned that my calmness could be the anchor that steadied her, even in her most turbulent moments. And I promise you this, when you become that anchor, you don't just stay in her life, you stay in her heart forever. Do you remember the very first days of your love story? The butterflies, the curiosity, the way you couldn't wait to discover everything about her? Every text felt like a secret. Every look carried meaning. And every moment was an adventure. Now think carefully, where did that magic go? Did comfort replace curiosity? Did predictability take over mystery? When I was with Sarah, I realized something powerful. Women never forget the man who keeps the sense of discovery alive, who doesn't let the relationship turn into a routine, where both partners stop exploring each other. I'll never forget the night I surprised her with something small, yet unforgettable. We had been together for months, and I knew her favorite childhood candy, the one she hadn't tasted in years. One evening, instead of a fancy dinner, I showed up with a bag of that candy and said, "I thought tonight we should go back in time." Her laughter, her smile, the sparkle in her eyes, it reminded me of our very first date. That night wasn't about candy, it was about mystery, about showing her that I was still paying attention, still curious, still surprising her. And here's the truth most men miss. When predictability kills curiosity, love starts to feel heavy. But when you keep mystery alive, not by playing games, but by keeping her guessing in beautiful ways, you etch yourself into her memory forever. When was the last time you surprised the woman you love? When was the last time you asked her a new question? The kind that made her stop and think? Or when was the last time you did something small but unexpected, just to remind her that she's worth the effort? Think about it. In your own love story, were the most unforgettable moments the planned ones, or the unexpected ones? With Sarah, I made it a mission never to let the story feel complete. I didn't want her to feel like she had me all figured out. Because mystery isn't about hiding, it's about revealing yourself slowly, layer by layer, letting her discover new sides of you. Sometimes it was as simple as sharing a story from my past she had never heard. Other times it was taking her to a spot in the city she never knew existed. One night as we were walking home, she held my hand tightly and said, "You always keep me guessing, and I love that. It feels like I'm still falling for you over and over." And I realized that's the key, keeping the falling in love feeling alive. Women never forget the man who makes them feel like love is still an unfolding adventure, not a finished book, but a story still being written. If you want to stay unforgettable, don't just be predictable, be a little mysterious, be curious, and give her reasons to fall in love with you again and again. Because the truth is, she won't remember every day you spent together, but she'll never forget the man who made every day feel like the first. Have you ever wondered why some men are simply unforgettable to women? Not because of money, looks, or status, but because of something far deeper. The truth is, women never forget the man who touches their soul, not just their hand. And today, inside this video, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful things, rooted in both timeless wisdom and modern psychology, that make a man unforgettable in the heart of a woman. But before we dive in, I want you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to the Stoic Sage and hit that like button, because this channel is all about mastering yourself, mastering your relationships, and living with wisdom.